Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Binahtiyah and this is QuantumUpgrade.com and .net. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher and an Emotion Code Practitioner. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about how you can use Reiki to gather and manifest money. That's right. And I'm sure in this December month, we all can use a little bit of help. Alright? Stay tuned for the rest of this video.
Y'all need it? I smell like I want it. I got it. Y'all need it? I smell like Izzy.
Alright. The other night, or last night, I had this dream. And in this dream, I was standing at an ATM machine and I had two other people ahead of me. So the person that was at the machine, you know, taking out their cash, was a guy, and he took out his cash, and you know, looking at his body language and his facial expression, I could tell that there was some kind of a problem. And I see him leave off and take the receipts from the machine, and he goes into the customer service, and I'm still watching and I'm looking at what's going on. And I could tell that he was a little upset, and he was explaining to the person, although I couldn't hear what he was saying, I could see that obviously it was an explanation. So my mind sort of wandered off, you know, focusing back to standing in line. I was the third person, and I was the only person. There was nobody behind me. And the next person that was in front of me was a young lady, and she went and she did what she had to do. And she seemed a little distracted, but I was just patiently waiting behind her. And the next thing I know, you know, she took her cash and she just left. And then I walked up to the machine and I realized that she had left her card. And I'm like, and when she left her card, she didn't leave it in a way where you couldn't go back and take out some more cash. And I was like, wow, how do people do that? And I'm standing there, but she had walked off really quickly, and I'm like, what do I do? So I knew she was going to remember, so I kind of kept looking at her, you know, kind of sending energy to her, like, turn around, remember, you forgot something. So she turns around, and I'm seeing her at a distance, so I started to gesture for her to come back. And so she came back, because obviously she remembered that she left something behind, and she grabbed it. You know, she came there, and she looked at me, and she kind of looked a little nervous, and she took her card, and she didn't say anything to me. So, and off she went. So I'm just like, oh well. So I didn't really think too much of it. So I go up to the machine and I put my card in and I punch in all that stuff. And my intent was just to take $60 out. $60. I don't know what I was going to spend it on, but it was just $60. And this particular machine only gives out 20s. So I knew I was going to get 3 20s. So what happened was I saw 2 20s and then a whole bunch of other bills, but I didn't really spread it out to see what the numbers were. So I took out my card and I took the receipt, and I'm like, it looks like it gave me too much money. So, and I'm getting ready to wander off, and then I'm spreading the cash, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There's dollar bills here. This is not right. But I didn't jump into any conclusion. I thought, okay, let me just count it. It was only 10 $1 bills. So I'm like, wait a minute, I asked for 60 and I got 50. So I'm like, okay, there's a problem with the machine. So off I go to the customer service rep, and I'm having a conversation. Or actually, I stepped up to the customer service, and it was a guy. And I was like, okay, there's a problem with your machine, and I indicated that I wanted 60. And I know that this machine only gives 20, but then it gave me all these dollar bills, and I counted it, and it's only 10. And here's my receipt. You know, I need help with this. And he was just still looking at me. So I said, here, look. So I show him the receipt. I even hand him the money. And when I did that, all he did was looked at the money and then kind of put it away where I couldn't see it. I'm like, what's going on? So not only does he have my money, he also has the receipt. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in a bank, so I'm not really going to freak out. I'm not going to start having an attitude. I'm not going to do any of that, because it'll get sorted out. And I was like, okay, so are you going to help me or not? So he just looked at me for a second. He's like, look, first of all, don't just hand your money over to somebody just because you they're in a place of authority or position or whatever thing that you think. Just, ask questions and then, see what they say and then proceed accordingly. And I'm like, you're right. So I said, so what do I do now? He's like, just go and stand in line and talk to the representatives, the ones, the bank tellers who actually hand out the cash, and explain to them what it is, and they'll give you the rest of the money. So I said, okay. So he hands me back my money and my receipt, and then as I'm walking, there's other ATM machines, along. It's a big bank, and I'm walking, and I'm walking, and as I'm walking, I kind of looked on the ground and I saw some cash. And I just kind of started walking. I just was going to walk by it and not even bother. But then I'm like, no. I turned back, go back, and I scooped up the cash. Don't know how much it was, I just scooped it up. And then as I walked back to stand in line and I was waiting for my turn, I started to think, what is this trying to tell me? Because obviously there's a message and it has to do with money. So that's why I had the idea to do my video on money. And in my dream, I recognized two things. So number one is handing your money over to somebody who you think might be in a place of authority or who should be an upstanding type of person, but you just never know. People are people. Number two, there was that person who forgot their card in the machine. If I was an unscrupulous person, I could have just taken cash out of that person's account and they wouldn't have been any wiser, and they can't say anything. They didn't see me do it. But then I'm like, would I want that to happen to me? I'm like, no. So I wouldn't do it to somebody else. And the third thing was, you see money in the ground and there's nobody around and you're like, you're going to walk by it? Why? Because you're in a bank? No, that's a gift for you, baby. Just pick it up and take it. There was nobody else there. So I'm just like, okay, it's a gift from the universe. Be open to receiving it and accept it and say thank you and keep it moving. And I'm like, okay, so those are good messages and I'm definitely going to adhere to it. So this being December, and a lot of people obviously are in a rush to get all the gifts, etc., etc. And I think December month is the month where everybody goes broke. Okay, and so who can't stand a little bit of extra cash? So one of the things that I recognize about myself and I realize is that I had a negative attitude towards money. I didn't really know that I did, but it wasn't until I started to really focus on my internal thoughts and why I do what I do, and what are the things that trigger me to do certain things or feel a certain way. It's start paying attention to what's going on inside. One of the things that I noticed was how I felt when it came to money. A lot of people, when they get either bills in the mail or the phone rings, you get that awful icky feeling in the pit of your stomach, especially when you know that you owe money or you've ran up your card and those collection people are calling you and you get that awful feeling. So, and I started to examine all of that about myself, and I'm thinking, okay, so how do I take care of this? How do I not have those feelings? Because obviously I need money, everybody needs money, everybody uses money. I want to change my attitude about it. So how do I go about doing it in a way that's comfortable and it's not going to make me feel like, it's something that I have to do or it's just a chore or whatever the case might be. So one of the things that I did was I started to focus on my inside. I started thinking about how I feel about money, and I started to notice little things that I would do. So one of the things that I noticed was whenever I went to the bank to either take money out of the ATM machine or I was at a teller, as soon as I got my hands on the money, I would just shove it in my purse, and I didn't want to touch it. And then when I got home, I washed my hands. I was like, who knows where this money has been. And I was like, why would I even think that, And then I thought, when I looked at videos or read books or watched movies, people who have a lot of money, they are either very selfish with it, they're very mean with it, they are up to no good with it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to be like that. And I'm thinking, all of those things are things that we absorb when we watch movies, etc. Okay, so you have to keep in mind what you take in, because those things do affect you. Okay, they have a way to change your outlook or to influence the things that you do, the things that you think, and the things that you feel. So once I realized that, I said, okay, so time to get out my Reiki grid, time to start focusing on the energy of changing my attitude. So I use the emotion and mental symbol, or the say hey key. I use that and I create a grid and I put a picture of myself in it, and I say a little, like, exactly what it is that I want, and which is to help me to change my attitude about money, help me to have good feelings about money, help me to understand my connection to money. And then I close it off with the same symbol. And I focus, I give it energy every day. And even now, even though I'm not focusing on it at the moment, I still do it. When I think about it, the whole image that I've created in my Reiki request book is there. It's there in my mind. And so I just think about that and I put energy into it and I send it love and appreciation, etc. The other thing that I did was I actually requested that the information of money in general, how it's used, what it's used for, its connection, its energy, but I get information about that and I learn about money and I allow myself to be open to understanding money. And it wasn't until I started doing that that I started to have this better relationship with money, where I'm just like, okay, well, I noticed for myself that I no longer have that negative attitude. I understand what money is. I understand what real money is. I understand how to spend it, how to save it, and what to do and what to use it for. So anytime I have to travel or anytime that I want to purchase a large item, I know exactly what to do, and it has not ever failed me. Every time I do it, it always works out. I don't even have to think about, ooh, where is this going to come from or whatever. I just make my request, put my energy to it, and I think about me already doing it, and I see myself, doing it, and not even thinking in terms of money, but just doing the activity, and voila, it's done. So I know for certainty that the universal life source energy works. You just have to open yourself to it and allow it to flow into your life. Okay? So basically what I would do is I would think about what it is that I want to use the money for, and on my page I will start with the power symbol, the mental and emotional symbol, the distance symbol, and being a master, I have other symbols that I use and in different orders. So I will put that at the beginning of my request, and then I will write out in specific details what it is that I want to use this money for, and in a present tense. So I do that, and as I'm writing, I'm a very visual person. When I'm writing something, I'm literally seeing it in my head as I'm writing it. So for me, it has always been easy to manifest things. When I'm thinking about it, I can see it in my head and I can see myself doing it. So therefore, I know that it is. That's what I believe. Anything that I can see in my head, I know it's possible. And one of the things that's really funny is that whenever someone is saying something and they're using very descriptive language, sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's too much information, because I can literally see what you're saying. And so I'm very careful when it comes to certain things and certain people and how they speak, because it's like, ooh, yeah, I don't really need to see that image in my head. So that's what I do. So the symbols, your requests, closed off with the symbol. Okay, sort of like a sandwich. Okay, so you do that, and you put it where you can see it, and you put your energy in it every day. You visualize yourself, having that request completed and how you are feeling and what, just see yourself in it, doing it, feeling it, experiencing it, and I guarantee you that it will happen. Now, you can't be doing that and then be like, oh, have a doubt. There's no point in having a doubt. If you're gonna have a doubt, just understand and say to yourself, I understand that I have this doubt. It's not necessarily a doubt to the power. It's more like something that I need to work on. And, I need to just change my thoughts and energy into something else. Think of something happy, think of something funny, just to get you off that, oh, I'm scared and doubt and all that, okay? That is what I do when I use Reiki to gather and manifest money. I hope that you're going to give it a try. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my newsletters so that I can share more tips and how-tos with you that I'm not sharing on the video. All right. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. My name is Binahtiyah. This is quantumupgrade.com and .net, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.